to the man coverage portion of the evening, like I said, everything to me can get into man coverage, right? Everything can eventually get there. So this to me is the one thing as far as a defensive back perspective that can be applied to what we do as coaches on the defensive side of the ball in the coverage. And I think the biggest thing to take away is, once again, the simplicity. Fast, confident, and physical is always the goal. So every coaching point that I give these guys, right, you're trying to balance those three things and trying to keep it as simple as possible for our guys. Not going to tell you guys where to align with your corners, right? Press, am I inside, am I head up, am I outside? Everyone has different reasons for doing one or the other, and that's okay, right? Depth off the ball and press is going to vary too much in a small amount of time to teach, right? Most teams are playing some sort of leverage, right? As long as you have your reasonings for playing it week to week, you're in good shape. To me, the biggest thing we try to get our corners and safeties to understand is what is a winning position first and foremost, right? And for us, we talk three different positions. We talk high shoulder, which is a position where I'm on top of the receiver. I cannot touch him, right? So I'm in a position where I'm thinking I'm going to win with my feet, right? It's eyes and feet at this point, and I'm truly trying to be far enough away where I can read this receiver, right? I can see his mannerisms, how his shoulders are turning. Does he look back? Is he digging, right? Is he trying to get on top of me? But it's eyes and first and foremost, and trusting that I have to cover a little ground. I got to get out of a break. Well, when do we use this situation? We use it a little bit more in quarters coverage when they don't have post help, right? We use this. The other situation is versus outside releases, right? We talk about getting high or top shoulder versus outside releases because you have no help, right? The post player can't get there. Every once in a while, that post player is going to show up if you got a great one, but you cannot count on it, right? So high shoulder is a position we talk in certain coverages and certain areas on the field. Top shoulder, now I can put my hand on his chest, right? He has to run through me if he's trying to run a go route. And in that position for us is used a ton. That is the other position that we talk about in quarters and outside releases, because you're running out of help, right? You got to take care of yourself. You have to be your own help. You have to use the sideline and help run a receiver off his line in that position. And then getting to the hip, right? I'm talking probably eyes on top, maybe my head, my shoulders just on top of his hip, but I want to be in almost even, or my hip slightly below his hip. And in this situation, we are talking about man coverage, so we have a post player on inside releases, right? We want to be in a position where we can feel a lean. We do not want to get stacked, right? We want to continue to push a receiver off his line, but we're willing to play a little bit lower because in our defense, right, we're playing more with a whole player in man coverage, or we're playing a lot of match cover 3. So we have some inside presence for us, and then we have a post player. I would say the two positions that I talk about a lot with our guys is where you at 2 and where you at 10, right? If you're in a winning position at 2 and 10, when you're in press coverage, you're going to routes, you're going to give receivers issues, you're going to have to make them deal with you and beat you in and out of breaks or at the point of attack all game long. The next thing, and it kind of carries over from my philosophy, just that consistent coaching points. Our body positions, right, what we ask our guys to do in press and off man is exactly the same, right? And reason being is you don't want them thinking a ton of thoughts, right? Fast and confident at the defensive back position. Great ones are also physical, but fast and confident has to happen. So consistent and the less coaching as possible to get the job done is what you're looking for. It's all about eye discipline. We all know that. We force our guys to try to play with a little bit of space to win with eyes and cover ground and have to stick their foot in the ground. And that's probably the biggest thing. And we know in a lot of situations they're going to end up closer than that. Alignment, right? Just what alignment did I pick? Am I winning it? right? Do I need to maintain it, or can I transition my leverage? Big term that I think you guys can steal is transitioning leverage. Most guys that are at the high school level that really struggle when they get to college, once the competition gets more even, is they're used to bullying guys in, it doesn't matter whether it's at the line of scrimmage or at the top of routes. That's not really realistic, the better players that they start playing. So the ability to transition your leverage, which would also transition where you're trying to win on the route at times, is probably the most beneficial kind of term that we use. You have to be a master of tempo to play man coverage, right? Press and off. You have to understand your speed versus the receiver that you're playing, and you have to understand how they use tempo getting off the ball and how they use their releases. You have to be able to study how guys raise up, and a lot of this just comes down with repetition. And with that, we implement a lot of eyes. It's trying to find in every drill that we do, how do you implement your eyes? Because otherwise guys just start doing drills just to do it. So our big thing is trying to find a way to implement eyes either at the top of a route, at the break point, how in all those transitions, it's how do you train eyes with all this stuff. And then the last thing, as far as just the consistency of what we coach, I would say is just talking angles all day. It's what angles are the correct angles to get you to one of those winning positions. And it's different from the different leverages that you're at. You know, if you're inside leverage and get an outside break and route, you know, outside release, your angle is going to be different than if you're outside leverage, right? The ability to use your hands and play with physicality is also going to be predicated on leverage and what releases you're getting. A lot of the best defensive backs that you watch are not overly physical in press coverage. They understand angles. They use their hands and are physical when they should be, but they trust their angles more than anything in order to get them out of trouble and to win down the field. Flexibility and technique. So this is probably the most important thing for guys at the high school level. You know, recruiting in college, and it's not perfect in any way, but you can, if you really are limited in how you want to coach techniques, you can consistently get guys that fit that mold of your teaching style and the techniques you like to play. But the biggest thing that I took from the NFL is that flexibility and technique. I was around some of the best to ever do it. I know there's a lot of debate, and I was with Darrelle Revis in his prime. You know, I played with Nate Clements. He was the highest paid guy when I was with him. His deal was the highest paid corner. Samari Rolle played for 10 plus years. I was with Joe Hayden. He signed one of the biggest contracts. I was with Champ Bailey in his career. And the thing that I took away from all those situations is they were all drastically different. And it came down from a alignment, from a technique, from an eye placement, how they use their hands, how they use their speed, and what their ability was at the time. It was all different. It was all very different. So we teach a lot of variability in man coverage. And this is goes back to Matt's talk there with curiosity. And to be great at man coverage, you have to be a very curious individual, because you have to be willing to try different eye placements, right? Am I a via the neck type of guy with my eye placement? Do I need to be down at the waistline or lower from, am I from hips to knees? There's guys who teach eyes on the back leg in press coverage. There's a million different things and all great reasons, and guys playing at the highest level doing all of them. But the flexibility in which you teach has to be there. And otherwise you're trying to get that square peg in a round hole as far as your talent goes, especially at the high school level. And the last thing is exposing your players to as many different situations as possible. They have to be adaptable in order to thrive at the highest level. They have to be able to see situations and recognize and make decisions in the moment. And once again, that goes back to the overcoaching aspect. When you overcoach guys, they really, really struggle in those situations where split-second reactions have to happen, and they have to have a thought process there that goes without having to process information. So being as adaptable as you can within your drills and within your practices to make guys get into awkward positions and find ways out of it, right? You talk about winning positions. Well, what do you do when you're not in them? How do you regain it when you're 3, 4, 5 yards away from where you need to be? You know, those are a lot of the situations that we talk about with our guys, because it comes up in every game. You cannot avoid it. I don't care how good you are. There's going to be situations that come up that you have to have that flexibility and adaptability in order to dig yourself out of a tough situation at times. So that is what I have for you guys. Just want you guys to know I'm more than welcome to work with Drew here and try to get something set up on a smaller scale.